So one of the questions that often comes up when talking through design thinking is, you're talking regular research, ideation, prototyping, and testing. Isn't that just going to slow everything down? And the answer to that should be no. UX design thinking and agile, when working together, follow what is known as dual track agile, where you have design sprints and development sprints happening simultaneously. So this is what a typical design sprint would look like. A user story is selected from the backlog and brought in for a design sprint. The UX designer and researcher take it through the design thinking process, steps 1 through 5, from research to defining goals, ideating solutions, creating prototypes, and testing. At that point, a winning prototype is selected and attached to the user story, and the design sprint is completed. Then, at the beginning of a development sprint, a user story with an attached winning prototype is picked up and brought in for development. And throughout this development sprint, the UX designer and researcher provide any support the development team needs to implement the design. So this is what it looks like on a linear timeline. UX is essentially sprinting ahead of development, doing research, building and testing prototypes, so that at the beginning of a development sprint, the developers are working with a prototype that has been researched, well-designed, and user tested, and this repeats sprint after sprint. Here would be another way to look at it. Through the current sprint, the UX personnel would be providing any support the developers need as they implement the design. So you may be answering questions about the prototypes and specs that the developers are working from, or you may be reviewing some of the staged development work to make sure that it aligns with the prototypes. At the same time, you're sprinting ahead. So working one sprint ahead, UX is creating and testing prototypes and selecting the winning prototype that will be attached to the user story for future development. Working 2 to 3 sprints ahead, the UX personnel may be doing user research, obtaining data, identifying pain points users may be experiencing, and then defining what they're going to work to solve through design. That's dual track agile. UX is working together, but sprinting ahead.